First off, I really want to encourage you to have faith in your ability to make some very small changes in your behaviors that can have a huge impact on your ability to retrain your bladder. So the first tip that I want to introduce you to is a concept to understand that your thoughts and your usual behavior patterns of toileting and the way that you respond to urinary urgency are actually a big part of your problem. Yes, there's a physical issue that's going on there, but your thoughts and your behaviors and the way you react to that situation is actually one of the biggest parts of the problem. And what's more, if you keep on doing things the way you have been doing them and you continue to say the same things to yourself that you have been whenever you have to go to the bathroom, saying, oh no, I gotta go to the bathroom, your problem's going to get worse and worse and worse. I know that bladder medications can calm down the symptom a bit, and believe me, right now, I have great appreciation for bladder medications, because without those little over-the-counter bladder medications that you can get for bladder infections, I'd have been in really unhappy shape out there in Florida for the week before I got home. But bladder medications for overactive bladder don't, like we say, they don't cure the problem. All they do is manage the symptoms. If you don't change your thoughts and your toileting habits, and then you stop taking your overactive bladder medications, your symptoms are going to be there just as bad as they were when you first started taking the medication. On the other hand, this is tip number 1. You can change your thoughts and behaviors and get control of an overactive bladder. And remember, those changes are changes that you're going to have to be consistent with. It's not change them for a week and then everything's going to be fine and then you can go back to doing things the way you were doing them before. These are real changes that you're going to carry on with from now until forever. So we're really doing, they're small changes, but they're important changes. You're going to be really shocked to find out how simple this is and how logical the changes are, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you'll be able to start gaining back control over your bladder. Some of you have probably heard me talk about the client that I had several years ago. She'd been dealing with an overactive bladder for over 50 years. She was 71 at the time that she came to see me. Her problem wasn't all that bad when it started, but she had the typical reactions that everybody does when they have overactive bladder. She started doing the same kinds of mistakes that people make. They're trying to control the bladder, they're trying to prevent an accident, and they don't realize that the things that they're doing are actually making the problem worse. By the time she came to see me, the time between toileting was just about 20 minutes for her. This went on all day, and it wasn't a lot better than that at night. She worked with me for several months. By the time she went off on her own, we had increased her time between toiletings to 2.5 hours. When she started working with me, her bladder was only able to hold 1.5 ounces. Sometimes you said to yourself, all I have to do is think about a bathroom and all of a sudden I have to go. Your bladder knows what you're thinking. Now, some of you have heard my story about the client I had several years ago who had been waging quite a war with her bladder before she came to see me. Her physician had tried her on several different medications and none of them really seemed to help. And she was losing ground in the battle for bladder control. And oh, did her bladder ever know what she was thinking? We would just start talking about her week and what she'd experienced and talking about the close calls that she had, and all she had to do was start thinking about these things, and she would get a real strong urge and feel like she needed to run to the bathroom again, which of course I took her through the process of how to calm that down and make it go away. But you can see how tied in the bladder is just to the thoughts. But the greatest example of a bladder being tapped into what you're thinking came from one of this client's trips to a hardware store. She was picking up this and that for a little home improvement project. She needed to go to the plumbing department for something. She caught a glimpse out of the corner of her eye of a toilet that was on display over there, and all of a sudden she got this sudden strong urge, these bladder spasms. And of course, this was before she started doing training with me. And so what does she say to herself? Oh my God, I gotta go to the bathroom. And she starts running right down the hall to the restroom. And I know this hardware store, it's got a great restroom. That's why everybody shops there. This sort of ties in together with the fact that your bladder knows what you're thinking, which is your bladder knows where all the bathrooms in town are. Well, your bladder and your brain are all connected together with all this neural network, right? So it's like, thought goes here and all kinds of reactions go through your body, and your bladder's part of that. So go below here, you'll see that there's an area where you can leave a comment. Just leave a comment there, and you'll see that there's a space where you can put your email address. Put your email address in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a download link so that you can get this ebook. Thank you for being here with me for as long as you were. I appreciate your attendance.